Hello, welcome to Moving Beyond Burnout. Are you in control and struggling to keep it all together? That is what I'm going to be discussing in today's live stream. My name is Camesha Jones. I am a licensed clinical social worker, recovering workaholic, and burnout overcomer. Moving Beyond Burnout empowers Black women to cultivate self awareness and develop practical pathways to overcome burnout for good. So if you're joining me for the first time, please like this video. Please share this video with a friend or someone you know who is struggling with burnout. And then lastly, if you're joining me on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Also, please subscribe to my newsletter. If you're on Instagram, it's in my bio. And if you're on LinkedIn, it's in the description. And on YouTube, it's in the description. So I am going to jump right in. So today's topic is releasing control, receive freedom. So the reason why I am talking about this topic is because I see so many women, especially Black women, who are in control but are struggling to keep it all together. So I'm going to dive into how we can begin to release control and how it can present opportunities for freedom, and opportunities for us to begin to trust others to help us, to support us, and so that we're not carrying so much. So, what is control? It is an individual's sense of influence or mastery over their thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and environment. So, when I talk about control, especially in how it typically looks like for Black women in terms of just having influence or feeling a sense of, um, I would say, mastery, like they're saying, over all these different aspects of their lives. So, one thing that I see often is having to be the leader and decision maker in all situations. So, whether that's on the job, whether that's at home, whether that's in the community, being able to be a leader or decision maker can give you this perceived sense of control over what the outcome may be. But it also puts a lot of weight on you if you are the decision maker and are the leader. The other thing that I've often seen are changing and moving environments to a place that feels safe. So, what I've seen in my work as a therapist and with my colleagues who are also serving Black women is sometimes to feel control over our environment and to feel safe, we have to move and be in different spaces. And that can be moving to a new location, moving in with other people. It can be moving to another job because we want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. The other thing is having our own financial means. So being able to provide for ourselves gives us a sense of control and agency over our lives, which is something that I don't think really is that big of an issue. But it can also take away opportunities to be interdependent instead of independent and trying to hold everything all together. And then the last thing that I'm going to say that isn't, it might be hard to receive, but micromanaging and over involvement in different situations. So I meet so many people, but especially women, especially Black women, who have their hands in too many different things. That are micromanaging and being over involved in all these other aspects of their lives or other people's lives as well, as a sense to feel in control. And so these are some of the things that a lot of people are holding to be in control. And so, some of the reasons why it can be so hard to release control is fear. We are afraid. You may be afraid of what can happen if you're not in the driver's seat, if you're not the person making or leading the decisions. It can also be just a sense of safety, as I mentioned before, when we have more control or involvement in these different aspects of our lives, we can feel safe. And a lot of women do not feel safe. And it pains me to say that. And that can lead to being in a space of over involvement or controlling behavior. The last part is unpredictability. We live in a space right now, we live in a world right now where there's a lot of unpredictability. And so the more that we can have agency and power, the better that we can feel with situations that may come up that may be difficult. And then the other thing is a lack of trust control because we don't trust other people. You may be in control or having all these different things that you have your hands in because you don't feel like you can trust others. You may not feel like other people will help you and support you. And because of that lack of trust, it is hard to step away. So, what happens when we don't release control? More stress, emotional, professional, physical burnout. And that is, the topic of moving beyond burnout is how we can tackle all these different things that lead to it. But over involvement and having a need to be in control creates more stress. The other thing is worry and anxiety. Sometimes not being able to release and the fear of what releasing could mean may mean that you are worried or anxious about what could happen. Unhealed trauma. So, as I talked about, the trust and the safety. So, trauma from the past can creep up in various different ways in our lives, in ways that we may not have imagined before, and it can creep up in terms of control. And then isolation, when we have over involvement, when we're not having support of others, we may isolate, may withdraw from others. And then lastly, as I just mentioned, a lack of support. So those are some of the things that can lead to all these different types of burnout, emotional, physical, professional burnout, is because we're not maximizing our opportunities for support. So I want to talk about how I was able to release control and really gain freedom in my personal life, but also my professional life. I was at a point where I was very over involved in various parts of my professional life, with my business, with my nonprofit. And because I was having my hands in too many different pots, too many different things, I felt an immense amount of stress and an immense amount of pressure and expectations to meet that were rigid, that were unrealistic on a regular basis. And it wasn't until I received an opportunity to really be able to expand my support professionally that I was able to finally begin to release, begin to delegate, begin to trust, and to help others. And even in my profession, in my personal life, excuse me, it was the same way. Having to, be the decision maker, be the leader, be able to plan and organize and have everything orchestrated. And some of that was perfection. Some of it was maybe not being comfortable with being the person who is the follower or the person who is okay with releasing and dropping the ball. So, some of the ways that I began to release control was to be able to allow that things don't have to be perfect and things don't have to be exactly what I think they should be. And so, when I begin to let go of the perfectionism, let go of the rigidness and the black and white thinking, and it has to be this way or nothing at all, that helped me to begin to be able to release control. Some other things was just getting out of rigidity. And rigidity is really believing that things have to be a particular way, and there's certain confines into how you can operate and what you can do. So I began to just remove the rigidity, and that allowed more freedom and opportunity and openness to other things. And lastly, just noticing the difference when I wasn't in control. I was like, "Oh, I don't have as much pressure. I feel lighter. I'm not as worried. I'm not as stressed because I was able to not have so much on my plate, not have so much responsibility, not have to be the decision maker." So those are the ways that I was really able to release control, and I feel more free now than ever any other point in my life. And I still have responsibility, in my roles in leadership professionally, but it's not like it used to be. And even in my personal life, with me and my husband, him being a support to me has also helped me to release control, and be more open to receiving help from others and not having to be in the driver's seat all the time. So, what you can do if you want to gain freedom and get out of the weeds of controlling behavior. One, determine what you want to be involved in and what's not important. So, as I talked about at the beginning of this stream, we got our hands in too many pots. We got too much going on. So I want you to determine what is important, what's not important, and how you can begin to release and remove involvement in things that you don't really need to be involved in. The other part, as I talked about, releasing rigidity, getting out of these standards, these expectations that are making life harder and making you more stressed and burnt out and exhausted. The other thing is taking small opportunities to trust other people. I meet so many Black women who do not trust other people, and it is harming us. And reason because it happened in your past that it's hard to trust other people. But if you don't trust other people or begin to in small ways, you'll never begin to experience what it's like when someone honors that trust, that you present. So I want you to begin to take small opportunities to trust others. If there's someone who says they like, hey, can you help me with my groceries, right? That's a small way that you can trust that someone's going to come through for you. If you're in leadership in your job and you have something that you want to be involved in, but you really need to give it to someone else, trusting that they will do a good job. And even if they don't, you still exercise an opportunity for trust. Get to the core of why you're struggling with control. It can be some of the things that I mentioned. It can also be things that I have not mentioned as well. So I want you to begin to get to the core of why you're struggling with control. And then also reach out to others for support. That's something I say constantly. Every week that you all watch me, I mention something in there about support and control, support and not being alone, because the isolation is what is really harming us in ways that we don't imagine. And so the more we're able to expand that support, and it doesn't have to be a friend, it could be somebody you just meet and strike up a conversation that can help you in some kind of way, and that allows you to release control. So I have a question from Do It Sweetly, and she says, what are some ways we can remove rigidity? How can we change our Black and white thinking? I would say creating a mindset of openness, because rigidity closes us off. Rigidity says it has to be this way. But if we're open to opportunities, if we're open to things going differently, if we're opening to life unfolding differently than what's in the box that we imagine, that is how you can begin to remove rigidity. So Do It Sweetly, I want you to think about how you can be more open. What can it look like for me to be more open and not close myself off or create these standards and expectations that are rigid and really difficult to get out of? So that is my live on releasing control. So I hope that you are able to gain a little bit of freedom from listening to my tips, my personal story, what I've seen, and that this, information helps you in some form or fashion with beginning to release control, and you will experience freedom in a way that you have never experienced before. If you put some of these tips that I mentioned into practice, you'll blow your mind what's on the other side. So next week's topic is what to do if your career is ruining your well-being. So I'm going to talk about some recent data that came up around people taking leaves of absence for work because of their mental health. And so our careers may be ruining our well-being. And so what to do if you're in that space where your career is creating a lot of issues with you to be healthy, for you to experience a full life, and what you can do about it. So join me every Thursday at 12 p.m. On YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please comment if you have thoughts or other things that you would like to share. Please, put them in the comments and I will respond. Do it sweetly. I'm so happy that I answered your questions. And thank you so much for tuning in. And please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my newsletter. It's on the link in my bio in Instagram and in the description in LinkedIn and YouTube. Take care of all of you and be well.